Welcome and warm welcome to High Tech Institution.
Hello everyone, welcome to AWS EKS introduction session. From this video onwards, right, we are going to discuss AWS EKS, I mean Elastic Kubernetes Service in detail. So if you watch this throughout the videos, right, you will be having a great and strong understanding on how AWS EKS works, how to create clusters, what is the roadmap to learn Kubernetes, and what are all the Kubernetes specific certifications are available. In AWS, how are we going to use EKS? What is the difference between on-premises cluster and cloud-based EKS Kubernetes cluster? Addition to that, right, you'll be understanding the previous generation and futuristic microservices architecture. And in Kubernetes itself, we have lots of things to learn, something called YAML manifest, something called services, ingress controller, config map, secret, Helm chart, all those things, right? We are going to learn in the upcoming videos. Okay. Since this is going to be the introduction, so we'll get started with the generation. So we all know today we are using Kubernetes across everywhere. Okay. But before coming to Kubernetes, right, we have some previous generations are there. Okay. Those are something like, starting from the hypervisor. So this is mainly used in the on-prem data centers for the virtualized deployment. Okay. So we'll have a VMware, we'll have a Hyper-V. Using that hypervisors, right, we will create a virtual machine. With a single hardware, we'll create a virtual machine. Later, if you go right, we have something called a Docker. Okay. So there are some disadvantages with the hypervisor. That is why people are migrated to Docker. In Docker, right, we will create a container to host our application. So in recent generation, right, people are started using Kubernetes. Okay, there are some drawbacks with the hypervisor. There are some drawbacks with Docker. That is the reason, right, we are started using Kubernetes. This is what the previous generation where we are right now. Now we'll take a deeper dive on the specific hypervisor and specific Docker and specific Kubernetes. Okay. Yes. This hypervisor, if you can see, basically hypervisors are categorized in the two types. One is bare metal architecture. Type 2 is hosted architecture. Okay. So in the bare metal architecture, right, we can see in this first diagram, hardware will be there. On top of the hardware, we'll have a hypervisors. Okay, the hypervisor could be Citrix, VMware, ESXi, Hyper-V, it could be any hypervisor. So on top of the hypervisor, right, we will create the guest virtual machine, will deploy our applications. Straight away, if you compare type 2 hypervisor, this is something called hosted architecture. We'll have a hardware. On top of the hardware, right, we will install some host operating system. Mainly, right, I would tell you this is an example of many of you installed hypervisor in your local laptop, right? VMware workstation or Oracle VirtualBox. In your local laptop, you will install it. On top of it, you guys will be installing and using the multiple virtual machine. So you'll have a base hardware. Example, your laptop. You'll have a Windows 7 or Windows 10, Windows 11, whatever operating system. On top of it, you will install the hypervisor, VMware workstation or Oracle VirtualBox. On top of it, you will create a multiple VMs. Okay, you'll deploy your application. So these two kind of hypervisors are there. But in production, right, people are widely using the Hyper-V or VMware ESXi, Citrix, then these kind of things, mainly type 1 hypervisor. Okay, mainly type 1 hypervisor, bare metal architecture. So people felt this is a comparison between the hypervisor and your Docker. If you can see, you'll have your hardware and you had a hypervisor, right? What is the problem here is, in hypervisor, we have to spend lots of money, by the way, in terms of advanced hardware required, and we need to buy a license. If you are going to use VMware ESXi or Hyper-V, you need to buy a license. This is too expensive. And we'll have a VMware vCenter, kind of expensive management console that itself required a huge hardware to provision that management application itself. Okay. And yes, of course, even though we are creating a virtual machine from the given hardware, however, even if you take a physical operating system or virtual machines operating system, right? End of day, it's gonna consume same space in terms of memory, hard disk, CPU only. There is no much change, much difference. So lots of drawbacks are there. That is the reason, right? People are migrated to Docker architecture actually. So in this diagram, you can see you will have a hardware. On top of the hardware, right, you will have the operating system. In Docker, right, there is no bare metal kind of thing. Every Docker host, right, will have base operating system. I'll tell you why. On top of the operating system, right, we will install the container software. The container software people used to call our container runtime. Either way, it's correct. So in this container software is nothing but your Docker. Their container software is nothing but a Docker. So we have multiple vendors are there, Docker, RKT, Rocket Container Engine, like many container engines are there, but widely people are using Docker as a primary one. So in the place of container software, we will install a Docker. This Docker will help us to create a multiple containers, container 1, container 2, container 3. If you remember, in hypervisor, we have a VM1, VM2, VM3. We'll deploy our application, guest OS. Similarly, we have a container 1, container 2, container 3. We would able to create a application. We'll able to deploy our application. Okay. So the biggest advantage, Docker is open source, not like a hypervisor paid one. And it's very much small in size, very much flexible, easy to manage. Okay. There is no need of higher end hardware configurations and all. Even with the basic setup, we would able to provision a Docker. It's good for small scale applications and all. So huge cost saving when come to Docker. Okay, many of the DevOps environments, right, they are using Docker nowadays. So this is what pretty much about, Docker, why people are started using Docker in wide range of places. Once people, using Docker, they are migrated to Kubernetes as of today, right? Kubernetes become peak. There are two kind of Kubernetes architectures are there. One is on-premise based Kubernetes and cloud-based Kubernetes. You might see in last 3-4 years, right? People everywhere, right? They are talking about Kubernetes, Kubernetes, Kubernetes. That is became popular and famous due to cloud. All the cloud service providers, right? AWS has service called EKS. Azure has service called AKS. Google Cloud has a service called GKE. Like this, right? We have a various cloud provider started adopting Kubernetes service with the cloud, along with the cloud services, right? People also started consuming more Kubernetes. Okay. The disadvantage in the Docker architecture, right? Here, there is no proper high availability, guys. If the infrastructure host server is down or operating system is down or something corrupted here, so you won't be able to access your containers and your application. That is the biggest drawback of Docker architecture. That is the reason people are migrating to Kubernetes today. In Kubernetes, right, they are not letting your service down because they maintain cluster kind of architecture. You can see we'll have a node 1, node 2, node 3. Nodes are nothing but your servers, server 1, server 2, server 3. So instead of having one server, they are having more than 2 or 3 servers. They are clubbing as a cluster. When multiple servers joining and providing one service, right, that is something called cluster. Mainly cluster will be used for high availability purpose only. Okay, cluster will be used mainly for high availability purpose only. Okay. So we have node 1, node 2, node 3. If one node goes down, right, no need to worry. We'll have a couple more nodes that will take care of our service. Okay. If the another node down also, we have one more node. So meantime, we can troubleshoot and we can replace it. So the architecture is, we'll have a node 1, node 2, node 3. On top of it, right, for all the node, we'll install operating system, we'll install the Kubernetes component, the prerequisite application, everything will install. On top of it, right, our pods are getting created. These are not containers. So on top of the hypervisor, we'll create VM. On top of the Docker, we'll create a container. On top of the Kubernetes, we'll create the pod. Okay, you can see pod 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The biggest advantage here, right? If any node goes down, whatever the pod associated with this node, it will be recreated in the next healthy node in the cluster. Okay. So Kubernetes is, container orchestration tool. It's giving you great in terms of high availability. It's open source, easy to manage, good for microservices. Okay. So we would able to host till advanced based applications also. So easy for monitoring, logging, tracking, very good in performance, cost cutting, cost saving. Okay. There are lots of advantages are there. Security. Okay. So easy to integrate with your pipelines. It's very much easy for deploying your applications. Very much suitable for all kind of DevOps environment. The lots of benefits are there with Kubernetes. Especially we have a much more benefits available when compare on-premise Kubernetes with cloud-based Kubernetes. Yeah, in this videos, we are going to talk about cloud-based Kubernetes only. Okay, fine. In next video, right, we are going to talk more detailed about how to create EKS Kubernetes cluster. There are several ways are there. You can create it through CloudFormation. You can create it through Terraform. You can create it in the graphical user interface. You can create it in CLI. We'll talk more about that. And we do have some online free simulators are available to practice Kubernetes. For basic stuff, right, you don't need to go and create a cluster in AWS account. We have some simulators are there. Using that, it will be easy for us to practice it. I'll show you how to make use of the free simulator. And Kubernetes roadmap. Roadmap means what all things we need to learn it in the Kubernetes, especially in EKS. What all topics are very much important in terms of interview. What are the subtopic you should know in Kubernetes? All those things, right, I'm going to cover in the very next video. Okay. Thank you for watching this video. I'll meet you on very next video.